Hey, e-commerce marketing podcast listener. I wanted to let you know that we have created a 6-month guide to marketing your e-commerce store. You can download this guide by visiting getosi.com/guide or by texting GetOSI to 33444. This guide will show you how to get more traffic, sales, and conversions for your online store. Get the guide right now by visiting getosi.com/guide or by texting GetOSI to 33444. Welcome to the e-commerce marketing podcast. I am your host, Arlen Robinson, and today we have a very special guest, John Jonas. John has helped thousands of entrepreneurs succeed in their business by doing outsourcing differently. He created and runs onlinejobs.ph, the largest website for finding Filipino virtual workers with over 500,000 Filipino resumes and over 100,000 employees from around the world using it. He works about 17 hours per week, choosing to spend his time with his family rather than working. Well, welcome to the podcast, John. I appreciate you joining us here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah, that's quite impressive what you've done with onlinejobs.ph. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your business, how you got started, and what you were doing prior to launching the site?
So I launched the site kind of to help me, like to find people, because when I got started hiring people 12, 13 years ago, there wasn't a good way to find people. Right. And I had hired these guys in the Philippines, and I was part of this mastermind group, and I found the people in the mastermind group asking me every single time we had a phone call, how are you doing this? What are you doing? How's this working? And I was teaching it every single time. And I was like, dang, I can't just keep teaching this to you guys every single time. So I put together a recorded phone call and made that available publicly. And the response to it was incredible. So many people wanted to know. Mm-hmm. And because I had kind of stumbled into, I didn't know this, that the Filipino people would be so much better than what I had experienced elsewhere in the world. Okay. And it was hard to find workers, and I wanted to hire some more workers. And the people that were learning from me how to hire people wanted to hire people. And so I was finally like, there's got to be a better way to do this. Gotcha. And that's when we started onlinejobs.ph.
Okay, gotcha. What were you doing actually prior to you launching the job? I'm just curious.
So prior to launching it and after launching it, I was running affiliate businesses. Okay. Like affiliate websites. I was also teaching and selling a training product. Okay. For hiring Filipino virtual assistants. But Online Jobs, the database, the job board, was kind of an afterthought to all of that. Okay. So I wanted to find workers that could build websites for me. Okay. Because that's what we were doing, and we were good at it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's awesome. And, you always hear about the stories of people that launch businesses, and a lot of times they are birthed out of a necessity that person has. They're looking for something that's not there, or the process just isn't quite right, and because of that, you kind of stumble onto it. So it's because it's not like you were, had just the thought of just launching it. It came out of your need, and then you seeing that there was a need that others also had as well, and that the Philippines was a ripe market for that. So that's it's a great testimony.
When we started it, I thought, maybe we'll get 10 or 20,000 Filipino profiles over the years. Right. Well, now we get more than that each month.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's huge. That's massive. Yeah. So I can imagine that. With that amount of profiles that you mentioned and the amount of resumes that you're getting, because you said over 500,000, I could imagine that your site alone has a sizable effect on their overall economy. I wouldn't doubt it. That's huge. That's really huge. Yeah. Now, most of our listeners here, of course, are e-commerce businesses selling a product or service online, and just looking for ways to increase their sales, improve their marketing. Not a lot of people may have thought about virtual assistants with regards to that. What would you think are some tasks that virtual assistants can help an e-commerce business do? A day-to-day task or just long-term? What do you think?
Okay, so I don't run an e-commerce business, but I'm going to give you a bunch of specific things that you can have someone do.
Sure.
So photo editing, you got pictures of your products, make them look great. And someone in the Philippines can easily and cheaply do that.
Wow.
Managing inventory. So like Amazon, here's inventory that's, it's getting low, you need to reorder, or dealing with the supplier to say, hey, we need to reorder. Customer reviews, managing customer reviews or customer support. Social media. So like building a social media following people, commenting, responding, making social media posts. What else? I'll just tell you kind of some of what I have working for me full time. I have programmers, one. So like anything technical can be done. A webmaster can easily be hired, and they're really, really good at it. I have designers, like graphic design, creating graphics, or front-end web page design, making it look really good, or user interface design. I have customer support people. So I never see customer support issues.
Okay.
I have content writers. So all the content that we write gets created in the Philippines. I have social media people that run, that create, that do everything for social media. I personally hate Facebook. And we have a Facebook page that has, 180,000 likes or something like that. And I've never made a single post.
Right.
So there's a whole bunch of stuff that can be done.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, I guess one of the things that I know businesses are thinking that are listening, what's the $1 million question is, of course, a lot of those tasks, of course, are things that, that take up a lot of time that a business owner doesn't need to do. Like you said, optimizing images, managing reviews, a lot of those are kind of tedious tasks that a business owner's time would be better spent doing a lot of other things other than doing those type of things. So, what would be like an average cost of getting a virtual assistant to do something like that, as far as, image editing, review management, just, some basic things like that, just a ballpark.
So I would say $400 a month for full-time work.
Wow. Okay.
So, and that's an entry-level person, but, image editing isn't that hard, right? Or looking at reviews or customer support's not that hard, right? So maybe you pay $500 a month for a full-time person.
Okay.
If that's 40 hours a week for someone who can do 4 things for you, take 4 things off of your plate.
Yeah, that's
it's pretty affordable.
Yeah, for sure. As opposed to, of course, hiring somebody in-house full time to do stuff like that. It's kind of night and day. Now,
or even as opposed to hiring someone part time, like with the Philippines, if you're in the U.S., you're hiring someone in the Philippines, there's no 1099 to send them. There's no taxes. There's no insurance. There's no utilities. There's no discrimination lawsuits. There's none of that stuff.
Right.
None of that exists. You get the benefits of the employee, but you don't. And it's still a tax deductible expense.
Sure.
But you don't have to deal with.
Yeah, that's a huge benefit. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, here at OmniStar, OSI Affiliate Software, we've used virtual assistants for quite a long time, and so we know the power in them, and how they can really help out a business and e-commerce businesses alike, for sure. Now, one of the things that I know for a new business, an e-commerce business looking to, let's say, hire a virtual assistant for the first time, what do you think are some of the key things that they should look for in trying to select the right person?
So it kind of depends on what you're having them do. Yeah, so if they're going to be doing images, make sure they have some image experience. Look at what they've done with images before. That's not a hard thing to hire for.
Right.
The harder thing to hire for is like taking over your social media posting, something like that, where you should be looking for their English. How good is their English? Someone with good English can do customer support. They can talk to customers. They can deal with reviews. They can do social media. You can teach specific individual tactics. You can teach individual items. You don't need to have someone with customer support experience. That's easy to teach.
Sure.
You can't teach English.
Right.
It's not worth it to teach it, right?
Gotcha.
So that's a big deal, is looking at their English skills.
Okay. Yeah, that's huge. And you know, a lot of businesses these days, social media is a big part of what they're doing as far as marketing. You know, I talk to business owners all day, every day, and you know, that's what I see. Every business is concerned about what they're doing on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and if you've got someone to manage that for you, your posts, that's really a big deal. But yeah, like you said, it's got to be somebody that's, you know, whose English is definitely on point, because like you said, you can't you can't teach that. It's not cost effective to try to help somebody with their English or their grammar,
right?
Because that would just be a waste of time. Yeah,
and it shouldn't be hard to find someone in the Philippines with really great English,
right?
I mean, like, they watch American TV, they watch American movies. Mm-hmm. That elementary school is taught in English. Mm-hmm. You know, like, you'll often find a little oddity where they'll use a British phraseology for something.
Right.
You know, for the most part, you're going to find really, really good American thinking English.
Gotcha. I know may have a personal bias to the Philippines, of course, because your site is based on the workers there. But if somebody is, you know, looking for virtual assistants and is casting just a wide net and is not ruling out other countries, I mean, well, you know, of course, we know India is a big player in the virtual assistant space. Do you know of any other countries that, I guess, kind of check a lot of the boxes as well? Or do any really even come close to, you know, what Philippines workers can provide?
So how politically correct do you want me to be, or how honest do you want me to be?
Definitely be honest. I think our listeners are looking for, you know, total honesty for sure.
So there's nothing that compares to the Philippines, and that's why I only focus on the Philippines. That's why people tell me all the time, "Oh, you should do this in Vietnam, or you should do this in Mexico." I'm like, "No. Why would I do that?" The experience is so much better in the Philippines than anywhere else in the world. And there's a whole bunch of cultural reasons why. And I can tell you those, and it's not any one of them. It's a combination of a whole bunch of things. So really quickly, number one, there's a culture of honesty with foreign employers. Mm-hmm. So, you know, obviously not everybody in the Philippines is honest, but as a foreign employer, there is a culture in the Philippines of treating foreigners really well and being honest with them. They're very loyal, like almost to it being a fault of theirs. So if you hire them and treat them well, they will never quit working for you, which means you can have them face your customers. And when your customers realize, oh my gosh, this is a really great employee, I'm going to try and hire them, I'm going to double their salary, they won't quit and leave you, which is, you know, that's always a concern. Like, oh, what happens? Are they going to jump ship the second they see a better offer for $50 more? No, they won't. Okay. They have computers and internet access in the Philippines, which means you don't have to go through a service to hire them. You can hire them on their own. They can work from home, and that there is like a $6,000 to $12,000 a year difference. Mm-hmm. They're very Americanized. They speak very good English. They're very hardworking. They want to please you. Culturally, the Filipinos are a pleasing people. They want to make you happy. And then they're not entrepreneurial. Mm-hmm. And this is such a big deal. They don't want to steal your business. They don't want to steal your business ideas. Mm-hmm. So when you combine all these things together with someone who's going to work for you for a long time because they're loyal, where you can trust them because they're honest, they don't want to steal your stuff. You can teach them things and have them do things that you would never have someone in India do, because you know they're not going to steal your junk, or someone from the U.S. because you know that $10 an hour person isn't going to be with you in 8 months. Mm-hmm. And so you can teach them things and have them do things that will take something off of your plate as the business owner and take it off of your plate forever. Wow. So, like, I got a report today from a guy who has been with me for 12 years. And I thought to myself just an hour ago, you are amazing. This dude who works for me knows so much. He's been with me for so long. I've taught him so many things. And I thought to myself, you're amazing, and I completely trust you. I completely trust everything you do. And that is a unique circumstance. You know, obviously you can find that anywhere. Right. But it's common in the Philippines.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, you touched on a lot of things I had never really thought about, but those are definitely things that, you know, if you're looking to have a long-term relationship, it's something to be concerned about. Because, you know, you mentioned a few things because, you know, there's a pretty big marketplace. You know, you've got your site and not, of course, you're not the only player in the space. Of course, there's a lot of other companies out there that do virtual outsourcing. And so, you have these workers that are competing for jobs. And like you said, you want to have loyalty because, just because there's so many other platforms that they can look for jobs on. And so, if they get a bid for a little bit higher, like you said, $50 higher, you don't want someone jumping ship when, you spent so much time and effort training them up. So that's
painful.
Yeah, that can be in that.
That's 100% turnover.
Right.
And that's hard to run a business like that. You can find people on Upwork, you can find people on Freelancer, you can find people on Fiverr or whatever. And that's all fine.
Right.
You just have to deal with what contract work brings.
Right.
Instead of full-time work.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Now, of course, you've talked a lot about the upsides for sure over as far as virtual hiring is concerned. Are there really, what would you say are some of the challenges in hiring a virtual assistant opposed, to an in-house person? What would you say?
That's a really good question. So recruiting is hard.
Okay.
Now, recruiting's hard in-house too.
Right. Right.
But with a virtual worker, you don't get to sit with them and look at them. Mm-hmm. And so this is the number one issue people have with the Philippines is Filipinos want to make you happy. They want to make sure that you're happy. They don't want to disappoint you. And so if they think they're going to disappoint you or if they're not sure they're going to make you happy, they get really scared and shy and embarrassed and disappear. Mm-hmm. And because they're not in-house, you don't see them sitting at the computer working, or you don't see them sitting there worrying,
right.
or it's not so easy for them to just come and talk to you, right?
True.
And so when this happens to you, because this isn't a question of if, this is a question of when. Mm-hmm. When someone disappears, it's not because they don't want the job, which this is an easy thing to take care of in the US. Mm-hmm. It's not because they don't want the job or because they're lazy. It's because they don't understand something. It's because they don't know what happened, or they don't know what to do, or they don't know if you're going to be mad at them.
Gotcha.
So when they disappear, you have to seek it out. You have to go to them and say, what's going on with you? I know something is wrong. What's wrong? What are you stuck on? What can I help you with?
Right.
If you'll do that, you'll solve this problem.
Okay.
But that's the biggest challenge. Another big challenge is, the Philippines is a third world country, and it's very third world. So they have planned power outages sometimes of the year. I have some workers that have had, they call them rolling brownouts, where the power is going to go out for 5 hours. Mm-hmm. It just is what it is, and it's going to happen every single day.
Okay. During
these next 3 months. And you have to deal with it. That's something that doesn't exist if you hire a local worker.
Yeah,
right?
that is true. That is true. Yeah. So that's something you have to definitely work around. And that makes sense. Yeah, I know how it goes. And it does depend on the country. There's some countries where these rolling brownouts or blackouts could be more prevalent than others. And you have to consider that when you're hiring them, because in the middle of the day, if you've got and you have to. You really kind of plan what you're giving them in the middle of the day. If you've got some mission critical things going on that you want them to do, you've got to keep that in mind that, they could lose their power and, you're kind of up the creek. But you got to definitely really organize the work that you're giving them a little bit more than if somebody's just right there in your office because, they're not kind of under your whole kind of protection there. So that totally makes sense.
And we don't have any mission critical stuff.
Okay.
So we don't have deadline. We promised a client that we'd have this done at this time, and so that's not an issue for us. Most people, it's not an issue either. But if you have it, you got to be aware.
Right. For sure.
And also, I just wanted to point out when I talk about the Philippines, I say you're going to find great people in the Philippines. It doesn't mean you can't find great people elsewhere, because obviously you can. Like the Ukraine or Romania has really great programmers.
Okay.
I've just found the overall business building experience is different. Mm-hmm. So, that's why I talk about, the Philippines. So
sure. Yeah.
I don't want to make it sound like this is the only thing that exists.
Right. I understand. Just like anything, you can find great workers anywhere. It's just like you said, with your experience and compared to some other places, it checks a lot of the boxes more so than some of the other places. That totally makes sense. But just like anything, you when hiring someone within your company, whether they're a virtual employee or not, you got to do your due diligence. You gotta make sure you got the right person. So there's no way to avoid that, doing your research. And even if there's some, initial tasks that you can give. And I know that's pretty common as well, because we've done this on our end. And I've talked to a lot of business owners that do this. They'll give different little trial tasks before they actually fully hire someone, whether it's maybe they're looking for a content writer, or maybe you're looking for someone to design a HTML email for your business, stuff like that. You can say, okay, I want you to do a sample for me, give them a deadline, see how they perform. Are they timely with it? And are they, how is the work? Is it professional? Is it what you expected? And, I think that's a good way to also screen people by, giving them some initial tasks before really hiring them and pulling the trigger.
Yeah, very much so. I totally agree.
Yeah, definitely. And, with virtual assistants and virtual hiring in general, like, where do you see this whole industry going? I know, things have changed a lot just in the past 10 years. There's a lot of other sites where you can get virtual employees, and it's really, I think, changed the global economy. But where do you really see the future headed in virtual hiring?
I see fewer barriers happening, where when I started, it was really hard. Like it was hard to find someone. And I see that coming down completely.
Okay.
Where, like Upwork charges like 20 to 40% fees on salaries. And I see that, they just raised them. I see over time it decreasing though.
Right.
Quite a bit. I actually see more people hiring more virtual assistants. And maybe that's because that's what I see every day.
Right.
But it's so affordable and you can get such good work done that I don't see why an employee at a business in the US wouldn't have someone helping them if they can make them more efficient. You pay $80,000 a year for someone. Why not give them someone to make them more efficient that costs you $5,000 more per year?
I see what you're saying. You're saying just you've got an in-house full-time person, you're paying a salary, but they may need they may need an assistant, and that. Why
not make them more effective?
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like a computer. You're buying them a computer because it makes them more effective.
Right.
And I think for a lot of business owners, why would you not bring someone in to help you?
Yeah, for sure.
You can't. There's not enough time in the day to get everything done yourself.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I know everybody listening can definitely attest to that. And, I know I can too. You just no matter what you do, even if you were to work, and what I see as a business owner, and most people do as well, you could actually work 24/7 and you still wouldn't get everything done that you need to get done. And so it's just the name of the game and the way things go. That definitely makes sense. A full-time employer, in-house, has an in-house person just getting a virtual assistant to assist that salaried person. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, finally, to wrap things up, we always like to ask our guests, what's one thing that an e-commerce business can do right now to help their business grow, get traffic, get sales? What do you think?
I would say pick one process that works for your business and get someone else to do it. Hire a VA to do that process for you and teach them how to do it. And then you because you're the business owner, you're the most knowledgeable person in the business. You know what works and what doesn't. Or you can figure it out. Then you can figure out what works and what doesn't. Right? When you're not the one doing the menial tasks, your brain gets so much better at solving the bigger tasks.
Right. True. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's a lot of business owners don't realize that. When you're a business owner, you kind of get so, knee deep in the stuff. You don't look out, you don't realize what it is you're doing. Some of the tasks that you're doing can burn you out and it's not even moving the needle at all,
Yeah. That's a great analysis.
Yeah. A lot of businesses fall in that trap. So I appreciate that. That definitely makes a lot of sense. Well, John, we definitely appreciate you joining us here on the e-commerce marketing podcast. If any of our listeners want to reach out to you, how can they do that?
So I'm always available through email. And if you use any of the contact us links, like at Online Jobs, if you contact us and ask for me, it'll get to me. Obviously, initially, it's not going to go to me.
Right.
But it'll come to me. If I have also been forced into using Facebook. So I'm available through Facebook Messenger. So those are two good ways.
Okay, well, that sounds great. Well, thanks again for joining us. We appreciate you providing your insight on virtual hiring, and you have a great day. Thank you for listening to the eCommerce Marketing Podcast. To access eCommerce videos and other resources to help your business grow, please visit getosi.com/videos. Subscribe to us on iTunes by searching for eCommerce Marketing Podcast, and please leave a rating and a review. Thanks for listening. See you next time.